Hey everybody, the music is over. That means we're almost going to begin. It's time for the Town Hall. Thanks everybody for queuing up. Give us a minute and we will be ready to roll. That was a very quick minute. Welcome everybody. This is the inaugural Town Hall for the inaugural season of Portland Hearts of Pine Soccer. Very excited to be here and be a part of it. Tom Caron here with Gabe Hoffman-Johnson, Hannah Sirois. How do you, the French way is Sirois, but I know you don't say that. Sirois. There you go. Very nice. And Bobby Murphy, head coach of the team. We are off and running. So excited that you can all be here tonight. Throughout the night, we want you to be part of this. So if you have a question, throw it in there. We'll pick them as we go for anybody about anything. I guess maybe not anything, but anything Hearts of Pine related, right? If that's fair. Yeah. Gabe, let's start with you. What happened?
So I hadn't really told too many people. I was actually hoping to make the team. So I was working pretty hard over the last few months leading into preseason. Picked up a knock, but yeah, so dream dashed.
Bobby, was that a sigh of relief that you didn't have to actually get to the point of telling him you didn't make the team? Yeah, exactly right. Gabe, just talk about what these last few months have been like. Yeah. You know, I first met you 5+ years ago, yeah. And you had this idea of bringing a pro soccer team to Portland, and you went through COVID, and you went through the objections, yeah. And you went through everything, yeah. And now there have been games played, and we're getting ready for the first game of Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, no, super special. I think it's actually a question I've gotten a lot over the last few months, right? As you know, we've had coach and players and games, and it's a little hard to answer. It's a little surreal. There's a little bit of this is exactly what we expected. In some ways, maybe not some of the finer details, but always believed in this market, this state, this city, and the community here to rally around and support a club. Still, blown away by the support, and when you see the community gather in Lewiston for an Open Cup game, on a cold Tuesday night, it's been a special ride, and I think what I want to make sure that everyone who's tuning in understands is you guys are as much a part of this as we are, right? There's an incredible staff. We announced the brand, the team name, almost exactly a year ago, with 4 full-time employees, and have just scaled this entire organization in a year with a front office of 18 and supporting staff of 5 and 23 players, and there's this chaotic beauty in building something like that, but it's not as successful as we are now, and there's this idea of what this club can be, what Hearts can be, and the community, the fans play such an important role in that. Not only in supporting the club and buying merch and those types of things, but from the very beginning we've invited them in and wanted them to be a part of the process. The town halls, the listening sessions. How can we allow and build agency within fans to be ambassadors, to really be a part of the club, and that grassroots engagement, telling your friend, telling your neighbor, getting them involved, that stuff really changes the game.
It's also something you've listened to, which is amazing. Like, I've seen a little bit behind the scenes that how things have changed based on what fans want and what people wanted. Hannah, he says it's exactly what we've envisioned. There was a little work between that and this. You've got history here. You're with the Maine Celtics. You know about this city. You know what makes Portland special. Talk a little about why this has resonated with the community as much as it has already.
I think
hold the mic up.
Sorry. I think to piggyback off of what Gabe was saying and what you just noted, like, we have been listening and we have involved everyone from the community. I think that's different, right? Like, when I first started with Gabe, and it's this concept of, like, I don't know, everyone's drinking the juice, but it's a very like amazing thing to have and to be part of. And I think that not only the front office and the soccer side, but I think that everyone who has come to any of our events or now the games are seeing this energy, and that we're not just saying it. Like, we want to have you part of this special day, special team, and match days.
It has been special. Bobby, you came in And this thing was already sort of happening. And I remember the early days, you were saying things like, I want to build a team that kind of reflects this community and this movement and what's happening. And we've seen you play 6 times. And there is a feeling that it does reflect. Like, you've put together a hard-working group. We've seen them work their tails off. Doesn't matter how many miles they're flying on a given day, right? They go out there. But talk a little about that vision you had to try to not just get the best 20, 25 players you could find, but to get a group that sort of reflects the hard-working ethos that is Portland and is Maine.
Yeah, I think it's a two-pronged sort of way of thinking, right? The first is we want to reflect this community. We wanted to take the best parts of Portland and Maine and have that reflected back to them on the field, right? And I think that's one part. I think the other part of it is, if you look across the landscape of soccer clubs in the United States, the teams that do well are the teams that know who they are. They have an identity, they have a culture, and those are the ones that are successful. You know, if you lose your identity, you lose your way. And so the fact that we could, parallel the two together and build it, hopefully, we're off to a pretty good start. But I think that was sort of the vision all along from my end.
Gabe, this group, the people watching tonight are kind of the early adopters of this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
What
FCOGs.
Tell us
right.
about the FCOGs,
Yeah.
what it means, and what that core group that really bought into this early on
Right.
means to the organization.
Right. No, I mean, it means everything, right? There's, it was a fun, we felt like this group, forever, right? For the many, many, many years that this club will continue to exist, there will be one group that gets to say, I'm an OG. I was a season ticket holder from the very first day. And that's special. And I think there's a uniqueness and a way that this club should honor that. To host events like this, to do things during the year that are only for that group, to some of the different perks and things that come along with being that member. So for us, and the fact that it's such a big group, right? I think there's something we haven't quite touched on yet, but we're breaking all these records in the league for tickets and all those pieces, which we're blown away by. And again, just one of those things that I think at the end of the day, what we did here over the last 4 or 5 years, we did it inversely how it's done in a lot of different markets around the U.S. Right, where somebody says somebody starts a club, they buy a franchise, I'm gonna bring a club to a town and then I'm gonna build the community around it. And what we did is we flipped that on its head, right? For the last 4 years, we built the community, we built the soccer community, we that grassroots engagement, and then we brought the club. So you had this real sort of grassroots holding and interest and awareness and participation from this large community. And I would hope that they feel like this is their club as much as it is ours.
Hannah, we're closing in on opening day at Fitzpatrick. We've had 3 games in Lewiston. Talk a little about the preparation. Still got a couple weeks. I don't want to stress you out yet.
Thanks.
But we are closing in on it.
work.
And it's going to be different. What's it going to be like at Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, super excited. Definitely counting the days. We need a couple more days here. Yep. But I think it's funny to think back when Gabe and I walked there a year ago or over a year ago, we're envisioning what we were envisioning back then, which is this just really cool, you are going to enter Fitzy and you're not going to know it was the Fitzy that had the high school games at it. It is going to be a full-on Hearts of Pine experience, and we're really excited to bring that to you. I would say to this group to be patient. This is the first time we're doing it. This is the first time I think that Fitzpatrick is going to have this crazy energy. I mean, we saw it in Lewiston, and we really didn't show up yet as we're planning to show up at Fitzpatrick. So we just need a little patience as we work things out, and we'll continue to listen to everyone here on things that are working well and maybe things that need to change on our part. But we have plenty that we want to show you, and we can go over it at some point tonight around food and beverage and activation spaces and really cool sponsors that are coming in. And and there is going to be the big difference, which is there will be beer at Fitzpatrick, unlike at Lewiston.
So more people with beer.
Yeah.
So it'll be rowdy.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
a good crowd. We expect that from you. Bobby, what will it be like to play a match where you don't have to fly across the country, where you don't have to get stuck at the tolls trying to drive north on 95? Like, you're going to have a home match. How exciting is that?
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to it. We're so excited. You know, we knew when the schedule came out and with the rollout of the stadium and making sure we wanted everything in place, that first 6 weeks was going to be difficult, but it is what it is, and the players have done fantastic. But they're just so excited. I think you know, with the experiences in Lewiston, they've sampled what it's going to be like, you know, and I think they see that it'll be even bigger and louder and crazier, and they want to do well. So, yeah, they're counting down the days in one way, we're counting them down in another. So,
You've coached all over this country. What role do supporters play in a home match, and what do you want from your group, from your supporters that will help lift this team?
yeah, I think, you know, supporters, they're the ones that remind us of why we do what we do. You know, we play because we love it and we're competitive. But if you have someone you're representing, someone who kicks every ball with you, who lives and dies with it, it gives you that little bit extra of a lift. You know, my hope is that I think it'll be an intimidating atmosphere for other teams. You know, I hope when things aren't going well, you know, there'll be moments in the game where there's a lull that the crowd can give us a lift. You know, I hope there'll be days where the crowd may be down and our play will give them a lift. You know, it's a sort of a symbiotic relationship between the two. But you know, as said before, and I think it's more evident on the field that they're an extension of us and we're an extension of them. So
You talked about that after the first Lewiston game. Like, none of us knew what to expect, right? You're playing at Lewiston High School. It's the first match the team's ever played. What did that crowd mean to you that night?
personally, it meant everything. You know, I mean, if you said I was a head coach of a game in front of the largest game in the world that day during the World Cup in Atlanta, and I was more nervous and more excited for that Lewiston game than I was for that one. And I think that's because of the personal relationships that we're developing as a club with the fan base and with the community. You know, I was just thinking a minute ago, I wouldn't go back to MLS. I wouldn't trade this for anything. This experience and this rollout and what we're doing here, I think it's special. You talk to, I was on the phone with the Portland Timbers today, and they're excited about what we're doing here. And they're across the country. So we're in a special place. And I hope from a soccer perspective, we can take advantage of that.
Gabe and Hannah, talk a little about the Lewiston experience. Gabe, we'll let you start. We had that event in Lewiston. Was that January?
Yeah.
Was it January?
Yeah.
I think it was January,
January.
right? We were sitting around at Gippers after, and Bobby, you were saying, well, what if we needed to play a place? Why don't we play it here?
Yeah.
We're all like, huh? And you'd be texting, how much does it hold? And we started putting it together. And all of a sudden, you've got 3,000 people at that first game.
Yeah.
And you've had pretty much that for the 3 matches up there. What did that mean to be able to have that with that size and that passion and that excitement and still be able to sort of keep Fitzy in your back pocket, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have to unroll Fitzy. That's going to be a whole other level of excitement. But this thing still took off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think for us, we're Portland Hearts of Pine. We play in Portland, but we want to be Maine's team as well, right? So there were pieces going into that where, getting outside of our sort of core market of the big city, so to speak, was something that we were excited about. And the way that Lewiston took us in, the staff, shout out to Jason for everything that he did. And I think one of my favorite pieces was just the reaction from that Lewiston community, right? To show up as well as they did, and the feedback, the gratitude, and those types of pieces for, thank you guys for doing this and being here. And of course we turn around and say the same thing right back to them. So just again, that symbiotic relationship. But I think it was that first one especially. I think I've played in, not as big a stadiums as Bobby's coached in, but I've played some big games, and I was more nervous for that one than maybe any other that I've been a part of. So and couldn't really do anything about it, which was the funny
That's the
part.
worst part.
Yeah.
The Dirigo Union, it's a good way to segue into them a little bit. What has that meant, having such a passionate supporters group to everybody? Back to you. There you go.
I mean, super special for me. I think the first meeting I ever had with a supporter was at the Portland Zoo 5 years ago. As I was, on my, just rounds around town, whether it was, in the political realm, or the development realm, or the fundraising realm, or the grassroots community building realm. And I remember having a beer at the zoo. I mean, there's a piece of what we've done here that's sort of just been like a pub crawl of Portland soccer bars and around the state, where so some of these guys and gals who are in the stands waving flags, going nuts, I've known for 4 years and have been a part of this, and they've been along for the ride, and they've helped shape this. We've included and had conversations with all of them, or as many as possible. So that to see that sort of come full circle, at least in Lewiston, and really excited for what that's going to look like in Portland.
All right, so somebody on the chat has already said, we've got some good questions here. Why are you hogging up all the airtime? So we're gonna turn it over there. And so the first question, and there's a couple of questions about a huge pine stick guy, the branch
Oakley.
guy.
Yeah,
Oakley.
loved it. Yeah.
Well, tell us the story of Oakley, because I think he got everyone's attention. He was right down in front of us. Did you see it?
I saw it.
Yeah.
So I saw when we scored the goal, Titus scored a wonderful goal, and I think Oakley ran all the way down the stands and back on the one side. So we discovered as an office the next morning, Oakley was in our jersey shoot on North Haven. He's in some of our photos, skateboarding or standing on the motorcycle. Came all the way from North Haven to come to the game. I don't know too many of the details, where he got the tree or the branch, or we might have to set a rule at Fitzpatrick for how many tree branches can come into the stadium.
That's coming next. That's the operations question. Is there going to be a measurement as you come in how big the branch you carry is allowed?
I mean, we're in discussions about that, for sure.
But just that's the kind of organic stuff that's so cool.
Yeah, 100%. We've had DIY hoops kits on workwear, and just the amount of creativity and the stuff that we're seeing. The DIY homemade fan stuff is super special, and to see people take what we are doing here and put their own little spin on it, right? I think is really special. We talk all the time in our office about democratizing access to what we're doing and allowing other people to make it their own. So really fun. And how Maine is it that for him making it his own was, I'm going to bring this to the stadium.
I'm going to bring a branch. Bobby's question about that match. How do you feel the team played, taking on and losing by the 1 goal to a higher division team?
Yeah, I think if you take it in totality, the night before, I didn't get to bed till 3. I think they probably didn't get to bed till 1:30 or 2 because we were flying back from a game. So the quick turnaround was difficult for sure. And I think first half we were cautious a little bit. I think we were on the back foot, but for 2 minutes of madness, we get into halftime 0-0. But I thought they responded really well. I thought, they took the game to them. We created more than enough to equalize, and that's just the game sometimes. You put everything into it, and you feel like you're on top, and the goals just don't come. And there'll be days where we're not up to it, and we'll get a result. So that's part of the ups and downs that come with this. But I was really proud of them, proud of the cup run. I think they showed themselves well, and they have nothing to hang their heads about.
Couldn't agree more. I got to ask you, because I've been watching this, trying to gauge I still haven't fully figured out how you handle officiating. Yeah, good and bad. I've been watching you after calls, and I'm not going to ask you about calls. But what should fans know about you as far as, are you a guy who gets verbal with officiating? Are you a guy who's sort of a stoic on the sideline? What's your
No,
style?
I think I try and be fair. I think there was, when they got their guys sent off, I didn't think it was a second yell, and I told the fourth. Just so that when I do have something to say, they know I'm not just whining for the sake of whining. I think the challenge is, right, and I have to accept this a little bit, the game progresses faster than the level of refereeing has, right. You know what I mean? And so we have to understand that and accept it, and they're doing the best they can, and but there's still moments, where you get frustrated, and there's very little you can do, and that's why the fourth official's there. He just kind of listens to you, and then but yeah, it's just part of it, and it just comes with the territory.
So Hannah, I'm bringing you into it now. You've been skirting this long enough. Let's talk about opening day. Okay. Because it's going to be a very different experience. First of all, there's going to be a lot of people, big crowd, right? Is it a sellout? Where are we at?
Yes.
So it's sold out. Opening day is sold out. But we already talked about it's going to be twice as many as we saw in Lewiston. Take us a little bit soup through nuts. What should people
Yeah.
know about the experience on May 4th at Fitzpatrick Stadium?
Yeah, I mean, starting from the very beginning, we are going to open 120 minutes before kickoff. So on May 4th, we want you to get there early. Get there between 4 and 4:30. We want to get you in. We want to get you drinking the beer, having food, listening to music, watching warm-ups. So I think, for us to be able to feel confident that we can get you in and ready and watching the game, we'd love to see you around that 4 o'clock mark. Be able to get your phone out, already have your tickets in your Google or Apple Wallet. That's a huge thing that we've noticed and we've learned from Lewiston, is just making sure you go into your account manager, transfer those tickets, have them already to go, the barcode ready and to be scanned. Again, something different from Lewiston is we are going to have security. So you're coming in, you're going to be ID'd right away. You're going to get your 21 and over bracelet. If you have bags, we might have bag check, but we're just really emphasizing to get in and let's start the party early.
During the game,
Yep.
facilities, food, drink,
Yeah.
give us a little
Yeah,
rundown of
so-
what's going to be there.
We sent a survey out to all of you guys, and we, again, listened. So a huge theme was local. So you're going to see a lot of local beers. You're going to see a lot of local food. So we have, you have your Bissell Beer Garden, but it has plenty of options for beer there. You're going to have food trucks there. We have Opry Lounge that's going to have, obviously, Opry available, but also other beer and beverages available there, along with food. So we're covering the whole campus. You're going to have an opportunity to have beer, beverages, and food within local food trucks. And the other big thing that we listen to is you can bring your own food in. So whether you have dietary restrictions, whether your kids are coming with you, whether you're nervous about the lines, that's fine. Bring your own food. We're not worried about that.
All right. So you can get there early, but you can bring a snack.
Yeah. The other thing is, a lot, we have sections with seat backs, right? So some people here have bought in and they have their seat backs. When you get there, and if you don't have one of those seats, we cannot, due to fire code and stadium restrictions, we cannot have you bring in your own seat backs. If you have one of those bench seats, go to our new A to Z guide, which is on the website, and look at, we're bringing a soft cushion. We kind of have the dimensions and examples of what you can bring in. It can't have any metal in it, but we just wanted to let you know we can't have seat backs brought in. The other thing is to be able to get in. Parking, yeah, sure.
Sure.
I mean, parking, I think a lot of the people here know from all the other pro teams, like parking stinks around Portland, right? Yes. But there's plenty of garages, Main Met, USM. There's plenty of street parking, but you're gonna park, you're gonna come. We have two gates. We have a gate A, which is probably what most people here are going to be familiar with, which is on the Deering Ave side, so the Deering Oak side, that's gate A, but we're going to have a gate B. Your ticket reps, Catherine and Austin, though, will absolutely be reaching out with know before you go on, hey, if you're in this section, go to gate B, which is in front of our press box, or go to gate A, depending on where your seats are.
All right. So parking, and if again, like you said, there's enough parking around. Just give yourself 10 minutes to walk.
Yeah.
To the stadium.
Another option is, we have $3 Dewey suites, which I know we still have some available. You can go, you can have premium seating, you can get, your ticket includes buffet from $3 Dewey's. It also includes 3 drinks, whether that's alcohol or not. So that's an option to get in early, get some easy food and beverage right there. And then there's also high roller premium field seats, which comes with high roller meal every game. It also does come with a parking spot. Oh. So Catherine and Austin, again, reach out to your reps and you can chat with them about that opportunity.
There you go. All right, got a question here. You can decide. There's been a lot of speculation around what the FCOG gift is going to be. Are you willing to reveal that tonight?
Am I allowed to? I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask. Well, maybe it'll come soon. I don't want to spoil it. We're allowed to? Okay.
You gonna give it away? Yeah, we get thumbs up.
Okay. Do I know what that FCOG is?
Do you know what it is? That's the other half of that.
We'll find out soon.
All right,
We'll
it's a
find out soon.
surprise.
We'll
You'll find
find out
out
soon.
when you get. You don't want to know what a gift is before you get it. Bobby, got a question about the guys coming together. Like, I don't think they were saying tactically per se, but they're just asking about when you've got a new group. You know, you're not an existing team that changed over a few guys. You're an entirely new group. What's that been like getting them to bind to each other on the field? What's it been like getting them to become part of the community? What's the whole experience been like?
Yeah, I think a lot of that work was done before we signed them. We did a lot of due diligence, a lot of character references, a lot of phone calls with them, a lot of explaining the larger project and what the expectations were going to be of the people who signed on here. And so we tried to make that doorway as narrow as possible, you know, that we were getting the right guys, the right characters to come in. And to their credit, they've been fantastic in terms of getting along, coming together, respecting each other, pulling for each other, helping each other. I think getting away, you know, getting out of town during preseason helped, you know, when they, but they're a pretty great group. You know, there's always card games going on. There's, you know, they're not on their phones, they're interacting, you know, so, and I think they've really bought into what this is all about. You know, they love the city. They love the fans. They love, you know, we had a couple, you know, we did our first of, will be many community appearances yesterday, you know, at the Children's Hospital. And the guys loved it. You know, they got more, probably, you know, more out of it than, you know, the kids did. But they're good guys who are grateful and humble and feel really lucky to be here.
Gabe, I'll have you follow up on that. How cool is that for you? Because I think when you say this is what we envision, the soccer part of it was the last piece. You
Yeah.
sort of hand that off to someone,
Yeah.
you know, and they really have come together early and kind of reflected what the bigger vision is all about.
Yeah, it's been fun to see. And I actually went to the hospital with some of the boys yesterday too, just to try to enjoy that myself. That part's been special. I think, you know, as a former player, but, you know, someone who's dreamed, you know, or, you know, played a big role, I guess, in this dream achieved. I think, you know, it's almost like something where you have to pinch yourself a little bit, right? Where like, you know, the brand, the community, the watch parties, you know, all that I'm more involved with, and all of a sudden, you know, you have this team and, you know, you're watching them on ESPN and you're traveling with them to Spokane. You know, and that's part of the fun. I think that's the piece of, you know, the soccer person in me that I love the most, right? You know, it's the relationships, it's the effort. You know, it's like an interesting relationship where I try to, like, you know, can't be too involved. I try to give Bobby space. I mean, he's,
How's that working out?
No, he's almost too distant. Like, come on, you come hang.
Okay, there you go. You see?
you know,
Just
but
don't try to-
and the boys too. I think I think Bobby's done an incredible job. You know, getting the right people, the right characters, you know, and the right players, right? So, you know, something he says all the time is, you know, this work is too important, too hard to be working, you know, with people who aren't good people. And it's fun, and I think, you know, for the fans, for the FCOGs, like, during the recruiting process, people wanted to come here because they see the support, right? So, like, not only is it important on game day, you know, to get the boys going and support them, but what we're building here gets the best players here. You know, we're in a league where, you know, not everybody's selling out their stadium. So, you know, as you know, it's a small world, the soccer community, and everyone talks to each other, and it's really easy to say, yeah, how well do they take care of me in Portland? How well does the club treat me? You know, how well do the fans support us? You know, so we're only going to get better for it. It all supports, you know, all the different pieces.
Let's swing it. Bobby, talk a little bit about that, because you're obviously not just putting together a team for now. You're also trying to build a franchise that'll be sustainable, right? Have you already gotten that kind of vibe? Like you're building something here that will attract other players, that will be kind of a recruiting tool just because of the whole movement?
Yeah, I think that's one thing, you know, when we talked and we started setting this thing up, like, little things are so important that go a long way for these guys. And so the club and ownership has backed us every step of the way in that. They see the larger picture, you know, and word's already spreading, you know, so people are already really curious about what's going on. Is it as good as you say, you know? And I think as we move forward and, you know, in a couple of weeks, and then that levels of support is sustained, and we keep doing, you know, I think think the biggest thing in my position, and I think as a club, is we have to follow through with what we say we're going to do, and I think we've done that every step of the way so far, and the players love that, and I think that'll spread, and as long as we continue to do that, we'll be okay.
Awesome. By the way, a bunch of people sending in messages saying Catherine's been great, so well done. But then a big fight back saying Austin's been great too. So well done, everybody. So we talk about the environment, right? These FCOGs. What role do they play? We talked about. I asked Bobby about the supporters sort of making a difference for a team. How about the OG supporters?
Yeah, the OGs. I mean, there's. I would get this question a lot over the years, and even now of what can I do to help? And at certain times there's specific tangible things for people to do, and at others, my response would always be, we want your thoughts and ideas, we want your engagement, but we also want you to be an ambassador, right? You're an OG. You're a season, you're a member of this founding club for Hearts. Go out and spread the gospel, right? Be an ambassador. Wear your gear proudly. Wear it when you travel. I wear my stuff when I go through the airport every single time, and inevitably I see someone either wearing it or they come up and say hi to me. Have conversations, I think, and represent, I think, who we are as well, right? We talk about this as a staff in the stadium. To be good people, to have smiles on our faces, to be bought in, to really lead with our hearts. And we want, these FCOGs are an extension of the club in many ways. So I think it's something we are extremely grateful for, and hopefully it's something to be, it's a privilege. So take advantage of it, and as much as you can do to be an ambassador and advocate and share who we are, what we're doing, and grow the game, grow the club. I think all those things are incredibly important.
I told you the story. I texted you last night, right? Our VP content from NESN was in Seoul, South Korea, yesterday, wearing the bandit kit. And somebody came running over. And it was a guy from America, but he was like, "That's Hearts of Pine. I love what they're doing. This is so exciting." Yeah. So, you're going global. Yeah. Congratulations on that. And then somebody else just asked, why isn't the quarter zip online? Can you pull some strings? I see them over there.
I think we're working on getting some more Hummel stuff in the store. I don't have an exact ETA on that, but I know that is a focus of ours. We have a few Hummel things, a few team gear pieces. I've had a few people ask for the big field jackets too, which, I think hopefully, I don't know, it was above 50 today. I don't know if we'll need those
just
anytime
another month or so,
soon.
you'll probably,
There's probably another snowstorm in here somewhere.
Don't even go there.
Yeah.
Couple questions about a women's team.
Yeah.
I know there's been talk about that. You've got several people here asking about it. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I mean, something we're committed to doing. I think, we're focused on getting, this club off the ground. We're having conversations with the USL right now. Around there's a USL Super League, there's a USLW League. There's conversations around schedule and fit, and the Super League, fantastic for the USL. That's a first division league. That comes with additional requirements that we have to satisfy at the stadium. That could potentially be a challenge. And all those conversations have to include the city as well, right? So we don't own our facility. We're leasing it, and but it's all positive in terms of the city's excitement, the league's excitement. Something we're committed to make happen. I think this is a perfect market for it. What you see in women's sports, not only just soccer, but women's sports in general. And I'm just a big believer that you have to continue to invest in it. So.
And towards that end, talking about the future, USL overwhelmingly approving Pro-Rel, right? Promotion relegation. Talk a little about that. How I know there's still a lot of uncertainty about how it'll be phased in, but it's coming. Yeah,
no, really exciting. I think something that the league had been pretty vocal about trying to get done for the last few years. I think I love the ambition. I think it's extremely positive for just soccer in general. To grow the game, right? There's a meritocratic system that exists in soccer in the rest of the world that doesn't exist here. For the USL to lead the way there, I think is incredibly special. And of course, it's fun to dream, right? Of where we could be in 5 years, 10 years. And there's so much work that has to be done. There's our focus is on, okay, how do we get 5,500 people in the stadium in like, 20 minutes, right? And like we had to go and number all the different seats in the stadium because no one had ever done that before. Like those are the types of problems that we're solving right now. When we're trying to get the locker rooms done and all those different pieces. But I think there's this larger vision of what pro soccer in Maine can look like. And certainly I think, there should be a women's club as well.
Bobby, on the promotion relegation thing, my first reaction was just that it's so cool that the sophistication of the American soccer fan base has gotten to the point that it's kind of an organic push for that, right? It's the fans who want it because they want the system the rest of the world has. Now, 20 years ago, if you're talking about where soccer's going in the United States, the thought that fans would be pushing for that is almost too much to believe. Like, how cool is it that fans now understand this sport more than I think mainstream media even still gives them credit for?
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing, and I think the fans have driven this. They've driven this promotion relegation. They've driven I think if you look at our supporters group, the way they drive, even just on a different level in Lewiston, where they went from one section starting the cheer at the beginning of the game to they've broadened it out to the whole stadium. Fans push these things, and we're here for the fans. And yeah, I think it's a knowledgeable group. I think it's they want games to matter. They want things. I think you look at other sports, and people talk about tanking toward the end of the season, and they want things that matter and games that matter. And so, with promotion relegation, the pressure's on, and I think owners deserve a lot of credit because it signals a willingness to invest. If you're willing to get promoted, then you're willing to invest. Whether that's facilities, whether that's salaries, staffing. So I think everybody's wants this thing to move forward. And I think it will in a really exciting way.
You talked about the supporters, Dirigo Union. We heard them a little bit in Lewiston. We're going to hear them at Fitzpatrick. It's going to be loud. We've already anything. I mean, a year ago at that event at Thompson's Point, they were loud. Talk about what that means to you and what you want from them.
Yeah, no, I think they're sort of the backbone of the supporters, and they I think regular fans and our players, our players do, and I hope everybody has an appreciation for the amount of time they spend outside of their regular workday in preparing, whether it's practice or tifos or whatever it is they're working on. They spend a lot of time, and I think they'll lead the way forward that match day. I hope that the casual fan or the people who aren't in that section will learn, and they can kind of lead the way, but it brings the whole stadium together.
I think it was about a year ago that the name and logo was unveiled. It was a year minus a week ago that you sent me the first song, right? How cool is that this has been going on, before Bobby, before players, before match, before anything.
Right, and I think there are over 400 paid members, right? So this is a group of fans. For people that don't know what a supporters group is, it's the most passionate. They're an extension of us. It's a really cool relationship. It's an independent relationship. They keep us honest. We're thrilled to have them. There's probably times where maybe they're not so happy of things that we're doing in 6 months from now and whatever. But that's positive, right? I think that sort of checks and balances piece is important. And it just sort of goes back to we're here to listen and engage, and we're not going to make everybody happy, but we're going to do our very best to be thoughtful and intentional with everything that we do. It is going to be a very large and loud section of our stadium. So expect some level of extra rowdiness that maybe you don't see at a Sea Dogs or Celtics or Mariners game. It's a very unique sort of part of the experience they're unique to soccer. And from my perspective, it's a part of the whole match day environment, a part of the match day experience, right? I've been to some of the largest stadiums around the world, and to be somewhere where you're watching the fans and the game, and the fans and the game. It's just it creates this sort of magical environment that we're excited about.
No doubt about that. All right, Hannah, I think this question is squarely for you, though it doesn't have you by name. What has you most stressed out about opening day, leading up to opening day?
Yes.
All right, what doesn't have you the most stressed out?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question.
Pick one.
We're good. We're going to be ready. And I honestly think it's because of our fans. after seeing how much grace we had with like showing up at Lewiston, I guess I'm stressed to make sure that like when people show up, they're like, we are showing up to a Hearts of Pine game, and not disappointed that they feel like, they're showing up to Fitzpatrick Stadium for another game. But I think we're gonna pull it off, and we're packing in, we're packing out, because that's what we have to do as tenants. But we are absolutely hopefully gonna really excite a lot of people.
Yeah, so
and a reminder, show up at 4
If you're
o'clock.
bringing your own sandwiches,
Carry out
bring
the
your wrapper
sandwiches,
with
yeah,
you
yeah.
at the end of the night.
And just to plug again, remember, 120 minutes before kickoff on May 4th.
Get there
Thank
early.
you.
Get there
early.
I got a question for you. You're not done with the mic. We talked about opening day sold out. What about single ticket
Yeah.
availability for other
Yep,
matches?
so we are going to have a certain amount of single game match tickets going on sale. That happens on May 12th. So tell your friends. Yep, for the rest of the season.
So that's a week after opening day or so
yeah.
when it'll be.
Yeah, so if this group already has all their season tickets, great. But if you have your friends that have been wanting to get to certain games, have them follow us online, and just know that May 12th is the day that they will go up for sale.
Awesome. Bobby, got a question for you. This is a good one. Are guys are they training at Fitzy? I'll interject. What's that been like so far? Because you have, right? They've been training over there. What's the early reaction to the turf and the field? It's
Yeah, no, we've been transitioning over there as the weather's allowed for us to. The new turf is great. It's soft. It rolls well, plays well. I think it's amazing not having the sewn-in football lines and lacrosse, everything over. It's just green, and so the aesthetic of it makes it seem nicer. I think it'll be a great view for the people. So, it's going to be a great surface to play on. We're really excited about it, and so Hannah's going to water it for us, so it'll be a little bit faster. It's one more thing she has to do.
One more thing she can be stressed about. Yeah. The question they had to follow up there is, would there ever be a chance to have a supporters viewing of a training session?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to. No secrets here.
There you go. See, but it's a great idea.
Yeah. No,
Let's get through opening day first.
Yeah. Something we've spoken about.
Okay. Is that, I've got a follow up there, Bobby. Is that one of the biggest inconsistencies from stadium to stadium, match to match that you deal with, is the playing surface?
In this league, for sure.
Yeah.
It's and part of it is, it's just where the league is at right now. It's growing. You look at places like Fitzy, where we've invested in a new turf. You look at Spokane, where it's a new stadium. There's places that are investing in their facilities, but yeah, it still varies from place to place to place, and so you just kind of have to, I think if you looked at the Naples game, right, that turf was a bit older. It was bobbly, it was bouncy, it was hard, so it was a completely different game than what a game at Fitzy will look like. And that's just part of what you have to cope with and just accept and move on.
Okay, now the question, what's the second most thing you're stressed about? We won't do that. We won't keep listing through that. Oops, I think I just opened your email. I need a little help on the computer. But while we do that, the idea like that, to have a supporters day at a training session, talk a little about ideas you're kicking around. You know what I mean? Like, again, right now, we're all here about trying to get things going for that May 4th opener.
Yep.
But what are once you get through that,
Yeah.
what can fans know about just some thoughts
Yeah.
that are going on
Yeah.
about different things during the season?
Open training, meet the team. We have tons of crazy ideas. I want to break some world records.
Oh, give me one.
So the largest gathering of people wearing flannel is doable at Fitzpatrick Stadium. The largest lobster bake it's never happened. It's not in Maine. It's in Massachusetts, which kind of pisses me off.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll be at Fitzpatrick, but a pro soccer club hosting an event to break the largest lobster bake. That's like exactly the kind of thing that Hearts of Pine should be doing.
Right.
So we have lots of crazy ideas like that. Bringing the Freiburg and Cumberland Fair vibes to Fitzpatrick. We're chatting about Fitzy Fair. So we have some fun things coming along. But I do want to reiterate. A lot of us, maybe some of you have been to Fitzpatrick Stadium or played at Fitzpatrick Stadium. We've invested over $2.5 million in improving Fitzpatrick Stadium. we are buying signs and field boards, and we've updated the lights and the sections and ticketing entrances and food carts, and it is just going to be a completely different environment, and that takes a lot of work. And I wouldn't say we're stressed about pulling it off and pulling it off well, because what we've learned from Lewiston is, and we're the ones that are most sensitive to this, right? We're like, oh, the lines are super long and whatever else, but we're Mainers, we're hardy people. We're here for the right reasons. We're here to support. But what we do actually want is feedback, right? Like, what are the things that we can do to improve your experience? We're going to get a lot better at doing those things. But we want to provide the best environment for fans to enjoy as we possibly can. We're going to literally be taking the entire day of May 3rd of like setting everything up for the first time. What sign goes where? Where are we putting this cart? What are we doing here? Like, these things are all in our head and they're on pieces of paper. And we'll be doing it for the very first time, which is like, I don't know, I'm not stressed. Maybe Hannah's stressed. But
Nobody's stressed. Stress is good. Stress brings out the best.
Yeah.
When you put this all together and that event takes place, what will you most be looking forward to when you wake up in the morning of the 4th? Because now the 3rd, you've done it all. You've got it all there.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about when you wake up?
Oh, wow. Well, I have like 80 different people in town that are coming for the game, which will be fun. Well, one of my favorite pieces, so we all show up early to watch the stadium fill is really, really fun. If you had like a time-lapse video from, 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock or something, like that would be maybe we should do that actually.
We should do that.
But to be there before, to see it fill. And it's history made, right? I think that there's pieces of that to enjoy. I mean, one of my favorite pieces in Lewiston is just seeing, it's just incredibly like diverse, wholesome, awesome community, right? Of like, that's what soccer looks like if you go to Kennedy Park or if you go play a tournament anywhere, right? And then to see what I think of Fitzpatrick as this community living room that 6,000 people get to show up, 18 times a year. And that I think is special. And then, hopefully we get a good result and everyone enjoys themselves. But I do think, yes, it's going to be a fantastic day.
Hannah, we've probably had some people coming in late. Let's run through it one more time. Game day, take us through what people should know about the experience.
Sure. So May 4th, we are opening our gates 2 hours before kickoff. So arrive around 4:30, and be prepared. Have your phone with your tickets already in your Google or Apple Wallet. Get your barcode out so that our scanners can get in. We will be IDing people 21 and over right at the gates. You're going to go through metal detectors. Once you get through, you'll have already figured out previously from either Catherine or Austin, your ticket reps, what gate to go to. We have a gate A, we have a gate B, depending on where your seats are. But we're opening those gates because we want you to get in. We want you to be able to, get to the beer garden, enjoy music, enjoy warm-ups, and be able to have get through the line so you can take a seat and you can actually start to watch the game and cheer the team on. Another thing that is happening that we haven't mentioned yet is we do have Renewal by Anderson Kid Zone. So we have a whole end zone that is going to be open for kids to come in. We have an inflatable mini pitch for 3v3. We have some mini golf, some poster making stations, some charm bracelet making, just like get their energy out and have fun while also watching soccer. Just a couple of reminders. If you don't have, the seat backs, you're not bringing in your own seat backs, but please go to our A to Z guide that will go over all of the guidelines for bringing in soft cushions that actually will fit in the stands. And you can bring in your own food. Just be patient with us on May 4th as we're all doing this together for the first time. But
Got a
we can't
question
wait.
here, which I'll follow up. Sorry. They're asking about, you mentioned there was parking included with the high roller. I think you mentioned it.
I did.
How does that work? They want to know.
It works by contacting Catherine or Austin, your
We're both
ticket
great,
reps.
according to the
And we're still working out those details with the city in terms of where exactly your parking spot will be in what city lot, and whether we transfer you the ticket and you might have to print out an actual physical copy. But that is all to come in the next week.
And Gabe, I'll ask you this. A question earlier, I missed somebody else. Thank you for following up. I didn't see it. Any talk about FCOGs getting access to individual game tickets in advance because they all have friends who want to come?
Yeah, I think there's. I'd have to chat with our ticketing team about that. I know we've discussed it, whether or not it's slightly before or more to come there. I think that's
Something being discussed.
something being discussed.
Okay. And Bobby, I'll ask you. We saw they posted on social. I guess we all saw that great speech you gave about the numbers, right? The thousands of people who have invested in this and representing them. What's it going to be like in that locker room when you get now you got 5,000-6,000 people out there in this sort of first historic game? Is that something as a coach that you don't need to play up because it's self-evident, like you almost need to tamp them down so they don't come running around and blow it out the first 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think the challenge is getting them to play the game and not the event. I think that can happen at times, and I've been a part of it where, like you say, the adrenaline kicks in, and next thing you know, 20 minutes in, you're huffing and puffing, and so I think it's really let the fans be a spur to push you on, but don't overdo it. The moment's gonna be big enough. I'm not gonna have to say anything to them. Then it's gonna be. I probably won't even talk to them. Just let them go and do it. It's one of those things where you try and think of something great to say, and there's nothing to say because it's all right there in front of you. So
it's been a tough schedule, obviously, but is there sort of a weird, like this team, it's not their first game. Like they know each other now. So you're going to get to go play this first game at home with 7 games under your belt. I mean, the team has come together.
Yeah. I think we've still got a couple pieces. Like, Natty and Masashi have only been in for literally trained for maybe 2 days. So I think those are 2 potentially big pieces for us that we need to integrate into what we're doing. I thought you saw flashes of both of them the other night, but we still, as a group around them, not sure how to best utilize them yet, and so I think that'll be the challenge over the next, 10 days before we go to Hartford, and especially before the home opener. But I think, the group's coming together. I think they'll be ready to go for that group game for sure.
I'll sort of ask for some final thoughts. Bobby, you get the mic. I'll let you start. Just what do you want to say to everybody who's watching this tonight and about this experience so far and leading towards May 4th?
I think speaking on behalf of the players and the staff, like we're humbled, we're grateful. It's been an amazing ride so far to get to this point, and now we, just know we're going to do our best every day to make all of you proud, and represent you in the best possible way. And I think results will come with that. We just focus on it on a day-by-day basis, but that's never far from our minds and our hearts of why we're doing this, and who we're doing it for. So thank you guys for everything.
Hannah, before you get your final thoughts, a question just came in, and maybe you could speak to this. They're asking, like Lewis and had a lot of people standing around. Is there areas to stand, or are you in your seat?
Yeah, so at this particular point, you're in your seat. So all tickets are, you have a designated seat number. There are some group tickets that are GA seats, but it still is bleacher seats. There's I think you're going to notice as soon as you get there, obviously if you're in the kid zone with your kids, you might be standing, but people are going to be headed to the bleachers to watch at Fitzy.
Standing in their seats.
Standing in their seats. Which
Sorry,
works
did I
absolutely
say
perfectly.
sitting in your seat?
Standing. Looking over a branch. And you get your final thoughts. Just what do you want to say to everybody? I know this has been
4 o'clock, arrive at 4:30. Be patient with us. I'm obviously very thankful for this journey and can hardly believe that it's about to be May 4th. Just really looking forward to making this community proud and can't wait to see how they show up.
It's going to be awesome. Gabe, what do you say to the 80 people who are coming in that need tickets? No, that's what you said. What do you say to this group?
Yeah, I think just gratitude, right? I think blown away by the support that we have. I actually do. The one thing that we haven't maybe touched on that I think is important to who we are as a club is some of our community work, right? So you're an FCOG, you're a part of the club. We're playing 18 games, and I'm as excited about our soccer side, and we're here to compete and win, but we're also here to compete and win off the field, right? So we have a few things. We announced our community ticket program. We have some fun things going on that we haven't really spoken about yet. I'm just a big personal believer in the power of this game to change lives for the better. There's so much about what this club is from an ownership perspective that's quite literally an investment in building a better Maine, right? And sort of, this future economic, community, cultural vitality of who we are, the city, the state, and making sure that we use this game to, to change kids' lives, right? So we are actively working to bring some of those pieces to life on sort of the community impact side that we will share more about. But I do think, for people like, the soccer is the exciting part, but I also want this club to be doing those things, right? So when you support this club, it's players, it's staff, but it's also, the work that we're going to be doing to make this community a better place.
Well, you did it in Lewiston, and that's what I'll say at the end. Thank you all for what you did for Lewiston, because that town has been changed by soccer. We've talked a lot about this. It's a town of a lot of different communities. A lot of people have come from a lot of countries around the world to make Lewiston their home, and soccer's been a unifying factor there. And for you guys to bring that over 3 nights, it meant everything to that city. Yeah. And I've heard so much about it. And if that's the power that you can now bring to Fitzpatrick, it's going to be amazing. Yeah. So thank you all for being there for that, and for coming to this, and for watching tonight. We'll see you all at Fitzpatrick on the 4th.
Sweet. Up the Hearts.
Up the Hearts. Yeah. And there you go.